Is anybody else tired of the fucking bullshit? I mean, the absolute utter nonsense of the world we live in right now. How you're just drained every ounce of energy, blood, sympathy, empathy, love. Everything is just sucked out of your body by these wretched people, and you can't wrap your brain around how so many people are willing to go along with this. And then when you're in a moment where you're willing to stand up and put your ass on the line, everybody else just cowers in the corner. And they say things like, well, why don't you just go do it? Well, you can't have one person against many. And in this case, the many are the small group of people that sit at the top. But they seem to have psychologically captured what I guess you would consider the strongest men in this world, the police, the military, special ops, FBI, CIA, intelligence agencies, things like that, where these are the people who you would expect that would be standing up to these tyrants. But no, 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 no. Every last one of them goes along with this. And so when you're trying to stand up to these things as an individual person, it's almost impossible. And so what's got me on this rant? Well, I'm just really tired of having to wake up every day. I mean, every fucking day. Going to a job that views you as a expendable and dispendable, if you want to make that short, waste product, that no matter how good you are at your job, no matter how reliable, dependable, and exceptional you might be, you're just as bad as a peon as anybody else that works at the place, and you could be just like that. And so you're expected to show up at a job where they demand that you be there every day. You put your entire life, energy, effort, your psychological effort, your social, emotional capital into these places. And God forbid you call out or take vacation time or anything like that. But at the same time, these companies don't want to pay you a damn thing. And it's like, I spent 20 some years as a teacher. It was the same thing. Every contract, every time I turned around, there was some sort of pay freeze that was not retroactive. They froze your steps so that you wouldn't be able to move up at the same pace you would have if they didn't initiate these things. The money was never, teachers today are getting paid what they were basically in the 80s and 90s. And if you adjust for inflation, it's even worse than that. And, the behavior problems, yada, yada, yada. So there's all that. These companies, they don't want to pay you shit. So they expect you to get there every day, have reliable transportation, but they don't pay you enough money to eat the food you need to show up to work, to pay to put the gas in your car to drive there. And then in a situation that has me ranting today, they don't want to pay you enough to actually take care of the maintenance that actually is required for you to have a fucking vehicle to show up every day. Not to mention, they brag about how they give you car insurance, or sorry, how they give you health insurance and all this crap, and you can't even fucking afford to use it. See, that's part of the plan. That's part of the strategy, is to break your health down, break your will down, so you just become a subservient little peon. And it's just a trickle-down effect. It just bleeds into every aspect of your life. And then they have the nerve to throw some extravagant so-called breakfast where they're celebrating your ESOP or your 401k, or where they're trying to brag about how much fucking money they make, millions and billions of dollars, literally. And then they want you to just digest the fact that they just spit in your face by wasting tens of thousands of dollars on some stupid fucking breakfast where all they do is brag about what they've done, and then have the nerve to turn around and tell you that they're only going to give you, what, 75 cents an hour more, $1 hour more, and that's the most we're paying anybody. Like, give me a fucking break, dude. It just trickles down from there. And like I said, when I left teaching, you're sold this bullshit line about student debt, which is absolutely a Ponzi scheme. How the fuck it can be legal for a fake bank, the Federal Reserve, to print up fake money, which is a loan, and then charge you back real money, which is the interest that you earn by going to work every day. This is the real money that actually exists in the system prior to them posting the loan. And then it's a pyramid scheme, because once I took out my debt, in order for them to recover that debt, they then actually have to raise the interest rates, or the amount rather, of the debt that they're producing for the next generation of kids. So my generation takes out its student loan, fake money, which I am required to pay back all the fake money, plus interest, which is the real money that's the sweat equity, as we'll call it. And then they will charge the next generation an even higher rate, so that they can replace the fake money that they just injected into the system, which causes an unbelievably nasty inflation rate. And you leave that school with said fake money loaned to you that you will have to pay back for the rest of your life, because nobody actually told you. You see, this is the thing. When you're going to high school, when you're going to college, and even your parents, they all manipulate you into this system, almost guilting you, and they don't explain to you that most of the careers that you're going to go to college for are not going to pay off that debt. And if you go into a career like I did, like education, public schools and so forth, it is mandatory that you have a college degree, and you must get a master's degree or master's degree equivalency to get your level 2 certification. So now they've got you twice. And it's mandatory, and you're working for a government position where you can't negotiate the terms of your contract. You can't negotiate your wages. And it's a total communist system. Both teachers' unions, by the way, were founded by Marxist communists, just so you know, and still operate that way. But it's just astonishing how the system is so predatory. And then the federal government's going to tell you, well, sorry, kid, that's the one fucking loan that you can't get a reprieve on. And if you do think about it, well, we're going to send the boogeyman with guns after you. And God forbid you should defend yourself against that. But anyway, so what's got me on this rant about all the pre-context that I just gave you is, the company I work for, they're not even, for what I do, they're not even paying me what the average person in my position made in the 1990s. That's over 30 years ago. They're paying several $1,000s less than that, and will not budge an inch on this. And they also think, and the job that I have is incredibly dangerous. We have one of the most dangerous jobs in America, statistically speaking anyway. And you're going to sit there and tell me that Tom in sales, who probably actually puts in about 2 hours worth of real work a day, or Sally in fucking HR, who does nothing but make everybody's life miserable, those jobs are worth over $100,000? I mean, make that make sense to me. I mean, I don't begrudge people for earning their money, and I'm not saying maybe they aren't worth it, but what I am saying is there are other people within every company. But that fucking lazy ass CEO who runs your company, who, by the way, was appointed to a position, didn't work his ass off to get there. He just kissed enough ass to get to the top. And I'm not talking about the CEOs are still running the companies they built from scratch. Mad respect for those guys. I'm talking about the little incessant bureaucrats who walk around thinking that they're high and mighty, and all they really want to do is keep themselves separated from the riffraff with middle management so they don't have to deal with the peons. Because I do know some CEOs for companies that are either customers of mine or friends of mine who actually are still doing the work and bust their asses. So I'm not talking about them. You know who I'm talking about. The political type CEOs. You have people like Larry Summers back in 2022 saying that we need to increase unemployment to take control of, or to get control of the inflation rate and debt rate. I mean, this is the kind of guy I'm talking about. And so I had an issue with my car. A sensor went not too long ago. That's where this rant's all going. Took the car in there where I bought it to get a switch fixed. Well, this cost for the switch to be fixed, the sensor to be fixed, was about $800 some dollars. So I'm getting ready to close everything out with the sales clerk, and he comes to me and says, "Oh, by the way, your rear coolant line, when the guy was fixing the sensor, he accidentally snapped it, so you're gonna need to get that fixed." And I said, "Well, go right ahead and fix it." And then he looks at me and he says, "That's gonna be $1,300. The fuck did you just say? I said, what do you mean it's going to be $1,300? He said, well, that's how much it's going to cost for this repair. I said, but you just told me he fucking broke it. Why am I paying for anything that he just damaged to my car? And he just looked at me, and I said, let me talk to your manager. The manager comes out. Yeah, well, you're going to, like, they wouldn't even fucking budge, because first of all, these people are such NPCs that they are tied to a script that this fucking company gave to them, and they just can't walk past the line. And I've probably spent over, I would say, $50,000-$60,000 in vehicles at this place. I mean, oh, and by the way, I actually had brought my car into them before for a routine oil change, and I had a nail in my tire probably from the parking lot at work. So I had meant to buy a tire plug kit myself to do it, and then it dawned on me that they're gonna have it up on the lift. Well, and I said, hey man, can you do me a favor? On the back driver's side tire, there's a nail in the second tread right near where the nozzle is. Would you mind just pulling that out and plugging it for me? He said, yeah, no problem. And I said, all right, great. And he said, that would be $87. What? For 3 minutes worth of work? Literally, it would take you 3 minutes to plug a tire. I've done it before. Are you fucking kidding me? Well, anyway, so they broke this goddamn thing. And so now I'm going to be spending my morning repairing it myself, because thank God for the guy at Pep Boys. Very honest guy there. Fantastic. I just went in and said, hey, I just need 30 seconds of your time, because I just want to compare and see if I'm losing my mind, or if my shock at the $1,300 was not right, actually what it cost to do this, or if I was just being fucking run through the mud. So I said, just give me 30 seconds. I just want you to look at what the problem is and then just tell me what you think. So he comes out and he says, well, it's real easy. It'll take you maybe an hour tops. You're going to just replace this line, do this, do this, do this. He showed me what needed to be done. And he said, this is going to cost, if you do it yourself, it's going to be $65. And I said, how much would it have been if you did it? So he went through the price with it and still came out. I mean, he said like $600. That's more than half of what it would have cost at the fucking dealership. So here I am at AutoZone, because I'm going to go in and just buy the antifreeze and the coolant that I need. I have the tools and all the part, and the part was $65, dude. 65. So how the fuck do you go from $65, let's say, for the part, and then the antifreeze? Oh, what's that about? Maybe let's say middle of the road antifreeze, $20 a gallon. So $40 for that. So $100 and some, and maybe it's going to take an hour of my time, and I'm not a skilled mechanic per se. So maybe it'll take me a little longer than a mechanic. Fucking justify that. Go ahead, Nissan of Drexel Hill. I want to hear your response for that. How about every car dealership who tries to fucking trap us in this cycle? How about that? No? You're a fucking bunch of scumbags, that's why. And it's just a shame that we don't even have people that even work for companies who are brave enough to just stand up to this shit. And anybody wants to call me out for that, I did stand up to this shit when I was teaching multiple times. And I did walk away from a very corrupt system that is absolutely poisoning the hearts and minds of your children. Just look around you at the way anybody in their 30s and under acts, responds, feels, thinks. These unbelievable rates of depression, the amount of drugs these kids are on, how they've put alcohol in every fucking store you could possibly go to. We used to have the liquor control board. There is no control anymore. You can go get liquor 24/7 in Pennsylvania, anywhere you want. And you know, the marijuana shit, why do I have to walk around? It smells fucking everywhere. So, anyway, enough with that rant. I'm going to go into AutoZone, buy this shit, and then I'm going to kind of go through the repairs and what it's going to take. And then you tell me, is that $1,300? And you tell me I should be able to just have a livable wage, let alone a prosperous wage. Now there's an interesting thought. And you know, when I'm referring to me, assume you're smart enough to know that's really kind of a euphemistic way of saying all of us, right? It's not really like I'm trying to slander or slant against the company that I work for. I mean, to be honest with you, I really enjoy the place that I work. I really enjoy the people I work with. And even when it comes to like my supervisor and manager, they're the best I've ever had right now. But that's the problem, right? Because they work with me. They are there every day. They see me and my colleagues and everything else. That both of those people would write me a blank check if they could. And therein lies the problem. The CEOs that I'm talking about, the ones that are lazy, they're not necessarily lazy when it may come to quote unquote work ethic. But what I'm talking about is the actual responsibility that you have as an employer, as the so-called leadership, because these people aren't really leaders. They are just managers. This leadership is the type of thing where you're supposed to be getting to know your employees, talking to them, build relationships with them. But they don't want that anymore because that sort of emotional attachment then takes away their ability to make cold and ruthless decisions. AI's coming, baby, right? I think we know the answer to that. But they don't even pay you a livable wage. So I'm expected to show up to work and keep all my shit in order so I can function as a normal human being, so you can suck my 8 hours of my life away, which is more than 50% of your actual waking hours in general. No, more than that, because if you count the time it actually takes to travel to work. So, explain that to me. Because this is new. It wasn't like this when I was in my 20s. It started to get this way a little bit in my 30s. And by the time I was in my late 30s, I mean, the shit was already unlivable then. So you don't want to pay me a livable wage. You barely want to pay me a poverty level wage. What's really being paid is a slave wage. And yet I'm supposed to be able to maintain a vehicle. I'm supposed to be able to eat food so I have the energy. And by the way, I am an incredibly healthy person. I work out all the time. I eat incredibly healthy. And one of the things that I've also noticed is little by fucking little, they're whittling away at what food you even have access to. And they're pricing you out of the things that you should be eating and only leaving you really left with the shit you shouldn't be eating. Now I resist that and I always will. But it's fucking wild, man. And then they have the nerve to look you in the eye and tell you you need to be here every day to earn this measly little pittance that we're giving you. You know, it's just that it's getting harder and harder for everybody to make a living doing what you like doing. Well, anyway, big shout out to Pep Boys. That was cool. Thank you for taking the time. You didn't even have to do that. I mean, that's grown man shit right there, to take the time and actually just show me what the repair was actually going to look like and what it was going to take, actually locating the part for me. And then on top of that, being a conscientious human being, the man didn't even try to get me to buy the part through his store and order it because they didn't have it. He actually looked it up on another store, AutoZone and found where I could go get it. Right next door. That's beast mode right there. And I don't know, maybe those two stores are probably owned by the same company at this point, but whatever, you get the point. The gesture was there. And that's something rare that you don't find anymore. So let me go in here, buy this shit, and we'll go through the repair. Since I was just driving a little bit, and we're gonna just let the engine cool off a little bit, go inside for a minute. Just gonna grab the tools and the part that's gonna be needed for this little operation here. And so now, I just guzzled down a bunch of tonic water to make this little bucket here thing to capture whatever's left in the truck, whatever antifreeze is left. There ain't gonna be much because the whole hose blew and whatever. Got all the tools laid out, the engine's cooled off. Here's the part that's gonna be for the rear coolant line. 2 gallons of the coolant that's gonna need to replace in this particular vehicle. So this is what we're looking at here, right? If you look at the way these cars are made today, everything is total fucking shit. So these pieces here, and this is the line down below that we're replacing, this tube and all that. They actually, the mechanics snapped this thing off because this is a two-part piece of plastic here, where this tube, this hose runs into this valve here, and this piece and this piece are both plastic, which you might be able to see, but this one's gonna have to be replaced too because it's the same shit. These pieces are all plastic. This is basically designed obsolescence, right? Meaning they've designed it this way knowing that eventually it's going to break. You're not going to bring it in for a $1,300 fucking repair, which should take you about an hour. This piece right here is exposed to all sorts of things: moving fluid, high velocity, high pressure as the fluid moves through the valve and through the hoses, exposed to high heat, velocity because the stuff's constantly moving inside of it, pressure from it and all. So this piece they know is going to fucking snap. At some point in time, they know it. When then they're going to turn around and sell you this piece, which you can see that particular part there is now metal. Well, why not just install it that way in the first place? Because you won't run into the whole myriad of problems that you won't understand, and you'll have to spend tons of money to get this shit fixed. And so I just unwrapped the new piece so that you could see the difference in the two. So this is the original part here with this piece of shit plastic. All, you can see the fluid all leaked out. This is the piece he snapped. And I guess when he resealed it with a thin line of glue that I could see on it, it just eventually popped back off. So this is the thing he didn't want to replace. And then if you compare it to this part here, you can see that this is all metal now, right? So all I'm really going to need to do is pop this hose off, slide it back down over the valve, tighten that little clamp on it, and this will run fine. This particular piece only attaches with these two brackets here, back against the wall of the inside of the engine interior, back here, runs all along there, reattaches right down there with this hose here, and with that little clamp. That was what they were going to charge me $1,300 for. All right, first things first, we're going to get under the truck, drain whatever's left in the radiator and in the system. Give it a couple minutes to do that just by unscrewing this little screw here. It's made out of plastic, so just have to be careful with it. But we're gonna get the system drained first. And well, so there's problem number one. That little plug in there is nothing but a little piece of shitty fucking plastic. And when they last drained this for me, they put that thing in there so tight that the screwdriver just strips it out. So I'm gonna have to look for another solution to this problem right now. Well, they tightened that thing in there pretty good, and in order to keep it from fucking everything up and stripping that thing out and not being able to put it back in, I'm just gonna leave it as it is, and we'll move on from there. All right, we'll get started on the first part of this, see how it goes. Getting this hose off here took some doing, but finally got it. Alright, so we got it off of its little brackets in the back there. Now we're going to try to pull this son of a bitch out. Just try and be careful because there's a bunch of other hoses and shit. And you don't want to end up just creating more problems for yourself than you already had. Alright, so there you have it, the old one. It's a plastic piece of garbage. But in general, even these clips, you know, it's just all planned obsolescence, just for you to keep spending more money on shit like this. And so now we're going to feed the new line back around behind the engine, pull it back around, and hook the hose up to that side. Well, it really took some doing to get these off of back there, those back bracket mounts, especially because it's so congested back in here. I had a hell of a time getting my hand in there, and my hands don't have the dexterity anyway that they used to. Getting closer. But got the hose reconnected. You can see now this is all metal. Ran it through the back. Those brackets, Jesus Christ. Trying to get those, get your hands inside to that thing, get those bolts tight. I mean, this one over here mostly had to be hand tightened because there's just no room to even spin the ratchet. That one over there I was able to get to. It's pretty snug. Got the new hose attached down here. Nice and snug. The whole system seems pretty good. So now the last part is going to be, we're going to fill the radiator up, let that sit for a little bit, then put some in the reservoir, let the truck run for a little bit, flush it through, and then just look for leaks throughout the rest of the week to see if everything's holding in there all right. So when you fill this up, you just want to make sure you do it nice and slow because it's going to burp and bubble and stuff and just spray all over the place. So see it gurgled a little bit there from overfilling too fast. Nice and easy. So the radiator took about a full gallon. Fill up the reservoir a little bit here in a moment and hope and pray there's no leaks and that I just saved myself $1,300 freaking dollars. So for now, just gonna let that sit for a minute, let some air work its way to the top of both containers. In about a second here we'll start the truck up, but I'm gonna give it also some time to see if these seals leak without any pressure on them first, any dripping on the ground underneath. Let it run for a few minutes and let the coolant kind of circulate back through, and hope this worked. All right, let's start it up, see what happens. Take a look. The seal's holding pretty good, nothing leaking on this end. Looking down here, you see that seal's pretty tight, nothing leaking around there as of yet, and it looks like it was a success. You know, all things considered, that was maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of work. Hands are a little beat up on a Sunday morning when I'd rather be doing something else. But the bottom line is we need to get back to doing shit for ourselves. I mean, it's between the coolant, the part and everything. I mean, I only spent about $100 to do this. They were going to charge me $1,300. I mean, make that make sense. So we need to start getting back to just getting away from all this technological bullshit, even though I'm making a video here. Stop relying on other people to do things that really you should need to do, especially young men. You got to get out there and work with your hands. I'm no mechanic, I'm not a carpenter, but I've done those types of jobs. I've worked in masonry, I've worked in block laying and bricklaying, I've done blacktopping, I've done landscaping, I've done some carpentry. Can you just get back to that shit? And you know, another takeaway from all this is that as a man, when you get done doing something like that, you feel good about it, right? I mean, I feel good about most things that I do generally anyway. I don't need something like this because I'm a pretty active, hands-on guy. I feel proud of the short films that I make, the scripts that I write, the 3 books that I self-published, my teaching career when I was a teacher. You know, I feel good about all those things, especially, you know, the way I take care of my body, my workouts and things like that. You know, training's very important to me. But, you know, you just use a few rudimentary tools, you make yourself a capable man, and, you know, it just builds who you are, builds your confidence, also changes the way people look at you. But, you know, like I said, you got to start learning how to do some shit for yourself and stop depending and relying on other people all the time. Well, like I said, too, the other part of it is feeling good about yourself. Did that. I'm gonna go and eat breakfast because I haven't eaten yet. It's about, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna eat breakfast. I'm gonna go play the guitar for about a half an hour, and I'm gonna go lift some damn weights, get my exercise in. Actually, today I'll probably work outside with the kettlebells. But anyway, you know, try to free yourself up by learning how to do things for yourself. You know, talk to the people who got the information. Watch things on YouTube. Use this technology as a tool, as a library to learn positive things. You know, give your body, not just your body the nutrition it needs, but give your mind the nutrition it needs. One of the things that you can do to do that is to start trying things for yourself. So what if you fail? So what if you screw up? Like with the car, if I screw that up, I just got to pay for that anyway. So why not give it a shot? Now I know how to do that. I don't have to ever have anybody ever do that for me ever again. Simple as that. But anyway, I'm looking forward to going and getting this workout in after I eat. So have a good one, y'all.